to this computer. Fantastic. Good evening, community. It is Quentin, your president with the Las Vegas branch of the NAACP, with one of my favorite people at the ACLU of Nevada this evening, Kayla Maese. Hey, Kayla, what's up? Good evening.
Yeah, hello, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here and happy to be chatting with you.
Absolutely. I'm so thrilled to be partnering with the ACLU as we talk about or debrief each day of this special session, this emergency session, which I don't know, it doesn't feel like such an emergency to me, but that's what we're going to dive into.
Me
So
too.
I wanted to take a little time and just provide some education, some general education, and a debrief to our community members about what happened today and what we can be expecting over the coming days. So maybe just turn it over to you and just give us some context for what happened today.
Yeah, so as we know, the governor called a emergency special legislative session to discuss a plethora of bills, and like you said, I don't necessarily see a plethora of these bills as emergencies. Our state is facing real drastic emergencies right now, and that's not the bills that we're discussing. So today, two very important bills were heard. We had the Sony bill and we also had the governor's crime bill, both in two different committees. There are new committees that have been introduced during the special session. We'll mostly talk about the crime bill as we at the ACLU of Nevada are really staying out of the Sony bill. But there was a hearing today at 2 o'clock in the Committee of Public Safety for the governor's crime bill. Same standard 15-minute presentation from the Office of the Governor and the District Attorney's Office. And we went into public testimony, same as normal. Had some very unusual things today where telephonic testimony was cut off from the public, which is something that usually doesn't happen. We're very concerned about that.
Yeah.
But testimony was large today, very large in opposition, took up the full 1 hour length of opposition. And I just thought that was fantastic to see. Even when accessibility is cut off, our community still really did show out today when it came to testimony.
Absolutely. You love to see that. You love to see that. However, you also hate to see ways that democracy is still being curtailed. In my testimony specifically, I was talking about how there's so many trends of just such overt aggression from our law enforcement professionals at the federal level and even some local, right? Like we've seen where local municipalities have engaged and corroborated with federal agents as they've disrupted families. So it was distressing to me to see us in Nevada basically fall in line with the extremism that we're seeing all over the country and to take away the telephone option so that people can weigh in and make their voices heard just felt very anti-democracy in my opinion, you know.
And I second that opinion because it did. We are cutting off accessibility to folks in the rural. We cut off accessibility to normal working class people. Our legislators are working class people, and it's really disheartening to see that even them, as normal working class people, a lot of our legislators are teachers, business owners, that they can't even see in the light of their own shoes, that they walk in every day that, hey, things need to be accessible to my community as things are accessible to me. So it was very disappointing. It's not a surprise that that's where we're at right now. Our legislative body isn't even considering protecting the constituents they serve at the moment. And so to see them also cut off the testimony on the phones wasn't shocking. But it's not
Yeah.
shocking where we're at right now in the state of our country and the state of Nevada that we're
Yeah.
experiencing real emergencies being our folks being snatched off the streets by mass actors. And with that, our legislature really has the opportunity to protect our community. And when we go into the discussion of immigrants, the policies that we propose don't only protect immigrants, they protect the Black and Brown community, they protect the Black and Brown community who are profiled and taken off the streets just as much as the immigrant communities are. So it's really disappointing to see where we're at right now and that the people that we elect into office don't want to protect us equally. It's very unfortunate right now.
Hmm. So, for our people who don't know and haven't been following as closely, can you give us the top lines of what's in the crime bill? Maybe give us a little context for the crime bill. I know, well, I'll give some context for the crime bill because I was in the room and I felt a little special. So, I'm going to tell my story,
Go
right?
ahead, go ahead.
It's the last 2 days of session. They're talking about this very important thing. I'm like, seems like we should have started talking about this before now, y'all.
You know?
And the issue I had with it, as I do now, is that the right stakeholders weren't involved. So even back in June, the governor introduced this bill. His office comes talking about all this excessive crime that's happening and that we need to keep Nevada safe. I also want to keep Nevada safe. I just don't want to do it with a blanket approach. I don't want to do it in a regressive way that costs the state money and rolls back the progress that we've already made. So back in June when this happened, they wanted to engage us in conversation after a 6 hour hearing on the Senate side. We
Right.
go to the room where it happens. There's some back and forth, and it's bureaucratic and friendly enough, but we really aren't convincing each other of anything different. The session ends. There's no crime bill, temporary victory. Fast forward to today, the bill is back. It's better than ever. Tell us what the top lines are in the bill, Kayla.
Yeah, top lines of the bill. So this bill is making a lot of conforming changes to some criminal legal system touch points. There is a lot of rollbacks from Assembly Bill 236 that was passed in a previous legislative session. There are tweaks to DUI regulations, new crimes called smash and grabs. One of the biggest portions of this bill that we focused on at the ACLU of Nevada is the resort corridor portion. This is coming from the Nevada Resorts Association claiming to want to protect their workers. We are never going to say your workers don't deserve to be protected. We agree workers do deserve to be protected, but not at the cost of other vulnerable Nevadans. What this resort corridor piece does is it effectively will ban individuals who commit a misdemeanor within the resort corridor, which is in Southern Nevada. It's the strip and parts of downtown. It will ban those individuals from this area for up to a year. It puts them in the cycle of incarceration, sitting in jail for really doing things as simple as, like they were talking about today, sitting on a telephone box, stacking. What's so problematic about the existence of the corridor court that is no longer in existence anymore, it has shut down, that this court was just a revolving door of those who are experiencing homelessness and not having somewhere to go and then being punished for not having somewhere to go. And again, it's very disappointing that we are criminalizing someone at their lowest point in life rather than trying to help build them up, bring them back into society in a meaningful way. So, those are some of the key points of the bill. Some of the key points that were left out of the bill is some proposed amendments that our office brought forward looking to protect our immigrant communities. We put forth two amendments that we did send to the committee prior to this hearing. The first one would be for any incident that someone calls in to 911 of a masked actor who isn't identifying themselves taking individuals off the street, that be responded to as a kidnapping. We really need to be able to identify who is taking our community members off the street. If it's not ICE, we need to know exactly who it is. So we had that proposal, and then we had another one that would make all civil detention center expansions need to go through a legislative approval process before they were just able to expand and grow in our state. And the legislature has decided at this time they won't be accepting any amendments that are focusing on immigration or protecting our community, which is funny because that is the real emergency that we're seeing right now. People have no food on the table, people are scared to go to work, people are scared to leave their house, kids are not going to school, and we're saying everything else that we're talking about at session right now is an emergency. So those are some of the top lines. That's also what we proposed in the bill this go around.
That it's flabbergasting, right? Like it just makes you want to be like, take your head off and shake it. Like, I
Yeah.
can't be, this can't be real. This absolutely cannot be real. I'm also very concerned about the corridor zoning designation, if you will, because it basically feels like an extension of what the city of Las Vegas did when they criminalized homelessness back in 2019, where they basically said that if you are on a city of Las Vegas property, if you're camping, which is basically you set up shop on public entity, then that is a crime and they can take you to jail. And when you look at the data that is associated with this same type of approach in other states, it actually shows that you are overwhelmingly criminalizing people who are just perpetually homeless and are just trying to get ahead. And I don't know about you, but the eggs never went down for me. So I can't help but think about the
Mhm.
families who costs are excessively rising for them and are but one bad decision away from having their life turned upside down, or the person whose life is already upside
Absolutely.
down and they're just trying to get ahead. So it's this vicious cycle of like penalizing and criminalizing people who are really just trying to stay afloat. It's violent policymaking, if you ask me.
Absolutely. We are just still experiencing the longest federal government shutdown that our country has ever seen, and our
Yeah.
state finds that it's appropriate to go up to the legislative session and discuss bills that aren't emergencies when our community is really, really feeling the devastating impacts of what's going on in our country right now. It's really sad that we can't even think about our neighbors next door when we're talking about these bills at this time.
hmm hmm So the hearing was today. We had our first hearing. Can you walk us through a little bit of like the legislative process? Because in as much as I want to talk to folks about what's happening, I want them to know like there's a process. So there was a hearing today.
Of
What's going
course.
to happen next?
Yep. So today we had a hearing. The hearing went through a formal bill presentation. There was testimony and support and opposition. To our pleasure, opposition did take up the full 1 hour of testimony. Our very happy community turned out. What we're going to be seeing is tomorrow, which will be November 14th, the committee will convene again in the morning, likely 9 a.m. And at this time, they are likely to work session this bill. So that means this bill is going to be voted out of the Public Safety Committee and it will be sent to the Assembly floor. We are hoping we can do whatever we can to prevent it even getting to floor. This bill should not be moving forward if it's not protecting our immigrant communities, period. But if it does make it to the floor, it will be voted out of the assembly and sent over to the Senate. So that could happen as soon as the next 24 hours. It could happen in the next 48 hours. But with special session, it does move very quickly. It moves much faster than regular legislative session, where we have the full 120 days. Special sessions are usually limited to just 20 calendar days. So this will be moving very, very fast. So if the
Mhm.
public is trying to keep up, I would check your phone every morning, see what's going on YouTube, see what's live, because the next 24 to 48 hours will be moving very, very fast.
You should also be following the ACLU Nevada on Instagram. You should be following our
Amen.
friends at Plan on Instagram. You should be following our friends at the Mass Liberation Project. They are really doing a great job with the rapid response of pushing information out to community and giving you ways that you can take action. Thank you for outlining what the legislative process will be, Kayla. That is very important because you can make a difference, folks. If you're watching this, you can make a difference. And I know, sometimes I'm even on my cynicism where I'm like, oh, it's not going to matter. The decision's already made. But that's not the case, y'all. If we have enough voices that come and say, not in our community, we won't stand for this. If we can make enough noise to outsize or outweigh the other side that is saying that there's rampant crime happening, that, all these elaborate things that aren't actually happening because again the data would show that violent crime is down. And every time I've heard our law enforcement professional friends outline these egregious experiences of crime in our community, they tend to be very specific cases. They're not able to point to specific trends of how this is happening in all these varying sectors of Nevadans that this is impacting. They hone in on the hardest, meanest, cruelest examples in order to justify using a broad brush to criminalize people. And my experience in my little 39 years of life has been that when you take that approach, you inevitably end up wrapping people up in the criminal justice system that, again, are just trying to keep their head above water. So I don't want you to feel deflated. Things are moving fast, but you can still make your voice heard. You should be lobbying members of the assembly, right? The Public Safety Committee is not a standing committee. This is a unique committee. We can make sure that we post who's on that committee when we post this content. But you should be texting your legislator friends, or if you have friends that are friends with legislators, you should be having them connect you with the legislator, call their office, text them, send them an email, make your own Instagram post, share this conversation with people in your sphere of influence so that we can make greater noise about this violently harmful bill for our community members because it's not too late. We can do the assembly side, and then we will need to do the same exact thing on the Senate side. Kayla, are there any other? Well, actually, how about this? Like, can you share with me what I'm trying to get at here is because this is recorded and we'll edit this part, right? But
I
what
gotcha.
I'm trying to get at here is where examples of where people using their voices have been successful. So even with this bill, like some things have been taken out, right? Like wasn't the felony threshold uh increase
Felony.
removed?
Yep. There was also a portion taken out about wiretapping that I can touch.
Mm,
A bill that died about wiretapping. That came forth because everyone was worried about their Fourth Amendment right. to
Hmm.
certain teachers. So I can talk about that. Okay, I got some.
Hmm.
Okay.
So, in the places where we're asking folks to call their legislators, can you give us some examples of like where that has made a difference so people don't feel like it is a exercise, a futile exercise?
Of course, it's unfortunate that at this time people think that their voice doesn't matter. It matters really more than ever right now. When we were looking at one of the first iterations of this bill during the regular legislative session, a piece of the crime bill touched on wiretapping. If someone was suspected or accused of any child sexual material or child sexual abuse of any nature, that their telephone lines would be able to be wiretapped without a warrant. That was a key piece of legislation where a community turned out and said, hey, you are violating our Fourth Amendment rights with these provisions. This cannot be in the bill. That now is out of the bill. So I think that is a very good example of if the community turns out and people really make it known, hey, there are problems that I have with this piece of legislation, and just contacting your legislators and having them reread certain pieces of the bill. We give these elected members of our body 200, 300-page bills. And of course, they will take their time and read them, but they need community to be able to pick out certain pieces of the bill that they might miss. They might not see everything in the bill. That's not their fault. They have a lot going on at this time. So if members of the community see pieces in legislation or small things of language that could be left up to interpretation, it's really up to you to contact your legislator and be like, hey, did you see this provision? This provision is really harmful. So we were happy to see that piece that was really pertinent to the Fourth Amendment be taken out of the crime bill. And now that's one less thing that we have to fight against in this current iteration of the bill.
I love that. Thank you so much for outlining that. And I really appreciate you outlining the part where, we have to own our own leadership because people are elected does not mean that they are the end all be all experts, right? Those bills are massive. And if you are not a person that is, a speed reader, then it is incumbent upon you to say, hey, I have an expertise in this. I read this thing, or I know that this is going to happen. You should know this, right? I always give the example like Barack Obama was the president of the United States for a while, but he wasn't the only one making decisions. He had a whole
Right.
bunch of other people informing him. So I want to encourage our community to own their own leadership. The only thing you haven't done, community, is go put your name on the ballot, but that doesn't make you any less of a leader than the folks who are pushing the button. So if you have a unique perspective or just your regular walk of life, you need to be sharing that with our legislators because that helps us. That helps them in making the rules that shape our everyday life. Politics should not happen to you; it should happen with you because this whole
Yes.
world, this whole world is created based on what we want to see have happen. Our legislators have power because we vote for them. If we don't want them to have power, we should not vote for them. Then we can be creating the communities that we deserve. Uh, Kayla, anything else that you want to include tonight?
I really just want to stress on the fact that your voice really matters. If you are available to show out to the Las Vegas Legislative Building, which is a brand new, beautiful building that the community doesn't know about, please turn
It
out there.
smells new, y'all. It smells new in there.
Beautiful. Please, please do whatever you can to have your voice be heard. In the event that this does make it to the Senate side, we do hope that telephonic testimony is available so that the community is able to still participate. But the fight's not over. We are still in it. We will be here till it's done. And our job, especially at the ACLU of Nevada, is to fight for our members and to make sure that everyone is protected of all classes. All neighbors are protected equally.
Kayla, thank you so much for lending us your brilliant mind and your
Thank you.
expertise. I'm so glad you're on the ACLU Nevada team because I got a lot of love for y'all over there doing the real work of protecting our civil rights and our civil liberties. We're going to do this every day until session ends so that we can keep our people informed. You can catch this. We're recording this and then we'll post it to our respective Facebook and Instagram pages so that you can share with your sphere of influence. So be sure to tune in and we will see y'all again tomorrow. Good night.
That was so fun.